Here, on the west coast of Scotland, on the Firth of Clyde, across from the Isle of Arran, you'll find Royal Troon Golf Club, the course hosting its 10th Open Championship this week. If you know anything about the course itself, you probably know it's a links course. You might know that players like Arnold Palmer and Tom Watson have won here, and you might know the famous postage stamp hole, the par 3/8 where the green looks like, yes, a postage stamp. But there's something else totally unique going on at Royal Troon. Take a closer look and you're going to notice something a little bit strange. There it is, a house, smack dab all by itself, right in the middle of the course. And you think, what is this place? Why is it there? Who lives in it? This is Black Rock House, and no exaggeration, there is nothing like it in the world of golf. The official address of Black Rock House is 14 and 16 Crosby Road. This is a two-family home. We would call it a duplex. They have a fancier, nicer term. They call it a semi-villa. But saying it's on Crosby Road is sort of funny because you can see the actual Crosby Road here. And then this little glorified driveway of sorts that leads across the course to this one house alone. And on Google Street View, you can see the sign that says, "Private Road, access to Black Rock House only." But private or not, Black Rock House now features prominently in any Open Championship that comes to Troon, because it has this incredible and unprecedented location within the links. To the west of the house is the second green, to the south of the house is the back tee for the third hole, immediately east of the house and nearly in the shadow of the front rooms is the par 5 16th green and 17th tee, and directly north is the championship tee for the 18th hole. You know the old cliche, the best seat in the house? This is quite literally it. This is a place where you could go window to window, could run back and forth and watch 5 holes of an Open Championship without ever going outside. So, where does this place come from? Troon itself is a relatively small town, and it was even smaller before 1812, which is when the Duke of Portland built a railroad line from his coal mines in Kilmarnock to the coast at Troon. From there, he could use the natural harbor like a seaport to export his coal to the British Isles and to the rest of the world. The town grew, and Royal Troon Golf Club was established in 1878, which actually makes it relatively young by Scotland's standards. For comparison, they were playing golf at St. Andrews at least in the 1500s, probably earlier. And when it was built, Royal Troon, there were just 6 holes. And if you look back at the plans for that original course, you'll see here, right in the middle of it all, Black Rock Cottages, which means that a house already stood on this spot when the first golfer hit a shot at Royal Troon in 1878. The course is approaching its 150th anniversary, but there have been buildings in this exact spot for closer to 250 years. Now, why is it called Black Rock House? That one's easy. The name comes from the black rocks that sit between Royal Troon and the water. If you go back to that original course map, you're going to see those rocks highlighted. In fact, they feature in a lot of old and current maps of Troon, and were actually used as a convenient, albeit risky place to dock boats way back in the day. As you see, if you take a short trip north, this isn't far from the harbor and the port around which the town was built. Now, the history gets a little bit murky. It's not clear whether Black Rock House itself had a role in fishing in Troon's early history. More than likely it did. Its position near the sea suggests it was built to house people who work the coastline. In fact, the buildings that now serve as the greenkeeping sheds for Royal Troon, these were originally fishermen cottages known as Lobster Row. Here you can see them in an I.M. Mackintosh book published in 1974 on the history of Royal Troon. Scroll down from that image and you'll see this early photo of Black Rock House in the same spot where it stands today. The house that now stands was built in the 1920s, and we know a little bit about the owners. You may have never heard the name Greer Carson, but if you lived in the 1940s, you would have. She was a Hollywood star who actually won a Best Actress Oscar for a movie called Mrs. Miniver. And believe it or not, she's the most famous resident of Black Rock House. Her brother Douglas, a local doctor, he owned the place, and she would stay with him during the summers. By 2004, we know from a New York Times piece that a man named David Kelly, a merchant banker, he owned half of it, and the other half was owned by a woman named Anne Lamont. It seems to have come on the market around 2007 for about £850,000, or the equivalent of close to $1 million. The The joke they made in the Daily Record was that you need $1 million to buy it and another $2 million to fix the broken windows. And by 2016, one half of it was owned by a man named Paul Gregory. He had bought it as a summer home. The obvious question, though, with Black Rock House is, why is it still standing? Or why, at least, hasn't Royal Troon bought it? We don't know the answer to that historically, but we do know from Paul Gregory in that 2016 piece that in his time there, the club never even approached him about buying the property, and he had lived there 7 years by that point. Maybe at one time, long before him, they tried and they were refused, but at this point, it's such an iconic part of the course that maybe they don't even want to buy it, much less to get rid of it. Today, when the Open Championship comes around, the house is put to very good use. The owners, as you might guess, sometimes rent it out, or they have a bunch of friends over. And on the property, there are corporate tents, hospitality tents, and it's fully integrated with the championship itself. As long as the waters of the Firth of Clyde stay right where they are, Black Rock House isn't going anywhere either. It's a fixture of Royal Troon, a part of the 9 Opens that came before, and a silent witness to the drama that will unfold outside these walls in all the championships to come.